Thank you. I appreciate that. We didn't do that last week. I couldn't find it.
Okay, when you see flailing arms, start.
Welcome to week 7. We're group 1.
Number 1.
Yay!
You're number 1.
I'm number 1.
You're number 1 because you got the B out of this room.
Yeah, you are number 1.
So you win.
That's true.
So a lot of this week was revolving around the case study, and we've been working a lot with our case study students, I'm assuming, outside of our class or whatever. So what have you guys been doing with your case study student, and what have you been noticing?
I haven't really had a whole lot of time with my case study student because I switched. Because one student, I had one student, and then I noticed he was getting a lot more support from one of the faculty at the school. And so I asked if any other students needed my help, so I switched to another student. But I did have a chance to work with her last time, and but more in a group setting. So it was kind of more like an observation period for me to kind of see how she works, but then also how she works in the group too. Mm-hmm. So I'm still kind of when we talk about the interview stuff this week, I was kind of oh, okay, this is what I can do next time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So.
And there was one of the surveys that we have to fill out, one of the interviews, it's indirect. We're completely away from the situation. We're watching how the student interacts. And I know Braylon and I did that this week, and that was really awesome too. So I'm sure you got some feedback on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat because my partner, her parents were told the teacher, yeah, so we're going on vacation for a little bit. And the teacher was like, okay, so how long's a little bit? And they were like, about a year. And
wow.
All right, well, see you later. So that was my student. So
no,
yeah. So this next
a little bit.
That's not a little bit.
Yeah. So this next
year vacation day,
I'll have a better idea with assessments that I'll be completing. So yes,
that's such a big change. I'm sorry for you guys. I feel like Braylon and I have been so blessed in that opposite. We've been working with the same kids the whole quarter.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
And so we definitely have a little bit more insight. But that's awesome that you're able to kind of interview 2 students and get multiple perspectives, which is definitely great.
And I've had it where I have been working a lot more with just the general class. So I've been working with the student, but now I just kind of get to focus on her. So it's I have a little bit of an idea of how she works and everything, and I noticed that she's really close with this other girl who helps and supports her in her learning, so I've been taking that into account. So
awesome.
Now I just have to remember how I work with the student. So
oh, that's awesome. What case studies have you what case study did you think was the most fun to do, or which one have you enjoyed working on?
I do like the observation one because it's very broad, so you can just kind of look at different aspects, socially, how they interact with the teacher, with their friends, with you, and the kind of language they use or things like that. So that one I enjoy a lot.
I agree with that because, I was just saying, I've been having to do a lot of the observation because I've just been kind of having to see how she works in the class, and now I get to focus on her. So yeah. I like that one.
I think the best one for me was the AQS.
I like
it's called AQS.
It's AQS. You got it.
Okay, yeah.
That's one of the first ones we actually did.
And it was just I liked it better than the other ones because it was like a conversation.
Yeah.
With our students, and so we sat down on this couch, really comfy couch, and we just kind of had this conversation about language and his background and his culture and all sorts of fun things, and so that was the best one. But to be honest, I don't know. I've done a lot of the observation ones, and I've done
the language profile.
We've done the language profile, and
we're missing one.
We've done another one.
Yeah.
But I feel like they were all so similar that I really don't know if I learned anything new each time I did the assessment. I felt like I learned something in the first time, but then after that, I was just well, I'm doing these assessments, but I don't feel like I'm learning anything about my student. What am I going to say about the case study?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that too, especially because I feel like we were so blessed because we had really good quality time with our students.
Yeah.
We got to actually, elementary, we got to teach with them.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
so, and it was 4 times or 4 or 5 times.
And we're going to teach with them on Monday.
Yeah, we got to work with them 2 times a week, and then now it's down to 1 time a week. But we have such a good relationship with them that we know a lot about them. And so I feel like I haven't learned as many different details about the students. I was hoping that's kind of what would happen, but I'm feeling the same way.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I'm concerned if I'm like asking the wrong questions or if there's like questions that I'm not asking. Like I'm interested about that because I don't know where to go with it.
Yeah, well, I don't feel like I know enough information in order to like share with the teacher, like, oh, this is what I observed, this is what they need to work on. I feel like the teacher probably has more to say about that than I do.
I know. Especially because the time we're there, it's very inconvenient.
Yeah, it's
right there at the end of the day when we kind of sometimes get to work on math homework with them, and so that's really helpful. So they're getting that support. But the rest of it is mainly pack up
like
time.
it's like the to-do list, like
get the classroom clean.
Let's organize your binders.
Or she always throws in, okay, everyone deals with this science. I mean social studies. Even though science is on the board, it's always
it says science in the board. But we always do like maps or something.
We've always done maps every time.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not helpful.
I totally relate with you guys about the inconvenient time because, like, that's the trouble I've been having with getting to know my case study students because, like, I come in at a time where it's like they're doing writer's workshop and, like, so they're really focused on their stories, and so, like, I kind of have to try to, like, butt myself in there, like, hey, talk with me instead of writing your story. Wait, no, write your story. So I'm thinking, like, next time I go, I'm just gonna, like, ask if I can, like, have some time apart with my student. Just, like, I feel like I have to be a bit more assertive with this if I really want to get a good case study. So, like,
definitely,
if I want to do this interview, I'm just gonna, like, pull my student out and say, hey, do you mind if we just have a little chat, you know? But, like, something I talked a lot about in my post this week was, like, keeping it very conversational and relaxed.
That's so key.
Yeah, and, like, with the notes, because I love to take notes. Like, I do, like, little jot notes that I write about later. But I know that it's so important to say, like, oh, hey, I'm just taking these so I can remember what we talked about and remember what you had to say. Would you like to see my notes? Like, because when I first think of the word interview, I tense up a little bit, to be honest.
Definitely.
Like, oh god, interview. It's like there might as well be a bee in the room, you know? So, like, I really want the interview idea to be just more conversation. Maybe not even call it an interview with the student. Just say, we're just going to have a talk. Like a little chatting.
I think what I said when we went with our kids, I was like, we're going to have a conversation. I think that was like very low key because they're kind of the same way.
Yeah, like, hey, do you want to just like have a little talk with me? Like, can I just want to like get to know each other, you know? Like, want to be friends. So.
And then I know when Braylon and I did ours, we kind of opened it up where it's like our students didn't really know what to say. They were kind of a little bit confused at first. And I was like, well, I speak some Spanish and some French, and I also speak English. And they're like, no way, I speak Spanish or I speak Mixteco. And so it was way more like fluid. It was way more real. It didn't feel like, let me hear about all of your educational experiences.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I started school in kindergarten. Oh, that's cool. I did too.
Yeah, relate to them. Yeah, because like, at least from what I can tell from my student, it's like she really enjoys having friends and working with her friends. So it's like, if I can be like teacher, but then also kind of like a friend. You know?
No, definitely.
Yeah. Kind of draw that line.
Yeah, my partner student that I'm going to be working with now, well, I think it's awesome too. My teacher was just like, yeah, feel free to just like, when you come in next week, just pull somebody. And I was like, okay, that's what I need. So
that's great.
That was
I love that
comforting.
invitation. That's great.
But, yeah, she's very like, every time she sees me, she's like, either talks about my bracelet or my hair. She's like, I love your hair. She's like, I'm like, I love your hair.
That's so sweet.
And she's like, oh, thank you. I'm like, thank you. She's just so cute. So I'm excited to get to work with them or with her, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Man,
I'm excited.
Little side story. I got like the ultimate compliment from the first grader last week because I had my hair in a side braid, and they were like, "You have Elsa hair." I was like, "Yes."
That's so cute.
I was like, "That is like the ultimate compliment."
My ultimate goal.
That's the ultimate compliment.
But then they're all about the person.
I'm like,
they're
oh my
all.
god, I'm Elsa. I'm not gonna let this go.
That's so cute.
That happened to me Tuesday too.
Oh my god.
Ooh,
I love
hey,
these
you know,
kids.
even with your red, even with your red, they still call them.
Yeah, I did a fishtail. Had to decide. And they were like, Elsa.
Yeah, like I went to college and majored in side braid.
So what other things, like, since interviewing process, like, parents are involved in this aspect? Like, one of the questions was, like, how do you like how might it be distrustful, like
That was
you don't
like
trust them,
that.
which is
Yes.
a really great aspect. And one of the things that I was thinking about was just the fact, like, especially for parents who speak a different language,
Yeah,
it would be
definitely.
very hard for them to like understand or recognize why is my child getting so much attention. Is something wrong with my child?
Yeah.
It
You
can
know,
easily
like-
be viewed as like a negative thing,
Exactly.
and really it's just intentionally positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree with that. I was reading that in your post, and that's
Yeah.
exactly how I felt too.
Yeah.
Oh, for real,
We're definitely, especially because you don't want like the child translating for the parents, or
Mhm.
you don't want to have like even like an interpreter like translate and make it more simple than it actually is. Like
Mm-hmm.
you really just want to be honest that this is a conversation. I just want to get to know your child,
Exactly.
and I want your child to get to know me too. I want us to have a good like relationship and like create a partnership with your child.
Mhm.
And I think that was really crucial. But I definitely see where if you didn't like take all the precautions,
Exactly.
that it would be definitely viewed as a negative experience, and definitely like no, I don't like this.
Like, I don't know
I need to
you.
move my child away from
Yeah.
your class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to be very sensitive about that topic. I feel
Mhm.
like.
And like I know like a lot of other cultures, like and even in our culture, like in American culture, like the teacher has a lot of authority, and so like at least this is how I felt when I was a kid too. Like if I ever got like a note sent home or a call from my teacher or some kind of thing, like I felt like, oh my god, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah.
Or like I
That's
was,
true.
yeah, because that's usually like in the past that's how it's been. But now with like how we're calling home a lot more, just to say hi, your child is awesome. This is what
Yeah.
they're doing. You know, it's like it's almost like this tradition that we have to break
Mhm.
now. It's interesting.
And
Like
some
a
parents
cyclical cycle.
Definitely, and some parents still haven't realized that not all phone calls are bad.
Yeah.
Like I think it's still like hitting wavelengths that even if you just call it can be for a positive experience. Or what is it? When we went to the ELL night last week, it's like
Yeah.
they called to know about events.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you assumed every time you heard one of those automated voice calls that it was negative about your child, you would stop listening.
Liz
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
to the office.
But really-
Bury your head in
But
sand
really,
a
it was
little
just,
bit.
we're offering this ELL family night, and we'd love if you could come. Like, this is the time.
That's like because I don't know why, but my mom still gets automated messages sometimes from my high school. And yeah, so sometimes she still does. And my younger sister was more rebellious than I ever was. So whenever it says, like Edmond School District,
She
on-
tenses up.
Yeah, she's like,
Oh, dear.
what'd she do? But she's not even in high school anymore.
Oh,
you know what I
no.
mean? Like, it still is like the same feeling because
Oh, man.
there's like that negative connotation with parent communication and teacher that it's going to be something bad, not positive.
It's- yeah.
you know.
That's so true. Like even with my school email here, I tense up a little bit whenever I check my email because I'm so used to getting like, you have overdue library fines.
Yeah.
Your registration is on hold.
Yeah.
You suck at life. You know, it's like
Cool. I didn't know we were getting that email.
oh, I got it. I was kidding. But
You suck at life?
yeah, basically.
Oh yeah, send that out every Saturday.
But no, I definitely agree with that. Like, that's with, like, sometimes, or if you're waiting, like, for override codes, or you're waiting to hear back from
Yeah,
someone and
it's
you're not
stressful.
sure if it's going to be positive or negative, I always assume that, oh, it's going to be bad, like, it might not work out. Like, I totally understand that.
That's why it's like leading back to the point. Sorry, kind of off course, but like this, it's so important to make communication a good thing. You know,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
like oh boy, I'm getting a good call from the teacher. What do they have to say this time? It's like oh god, the teacher.
And that's how it always
It's
is.
always like
And that's how it is for my brother. That's such an interesting thought. That's how it is for my brother. He's a senior now, and so my mom's always like, oh.
And it's
What
funny
do you
because my
do?
sister graduated already, but still when she sees the caller ID and it says Edmond School District, she's like, oh hell no, what did you do? But we're both out of high school, but
go
it's
back
still
to-
that connotation that, communication
sticks with her.
is, yeah, exactly.
That's so interesting.
So, there's that.
And I feel like they stress so much in this program that make sure your first call home or first several calls
Yeah,
home
good
are
impression.
positive before that's a negative call, so you can like change that cycle. But
Yeah.
I wonder how many years it'll take until we're actually teachers that it will actually like, sink in.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because I feel like it hasn't yet.
it is like this tradition. Like getting called to the principal's office, getting a side conversation with the teacher. Getting pulled out in the hallway. And it was like oh god, what did I do?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I feel like so whenever I've had to like talk with parents, it's so hard to like it's just really hard, especially in my daycare experience, being like a daycare teacher. And, you know, I always try to make those positive relationships, because if you have a positive relationship with the family, then it's so much easier to bring up something that maybe you're struggling with and you need some home support with.
Definitely.
But it's just interesting, like, in my experience. Like, there's been a few families that I've really tried to, like, make a positive. Every day when they come pick up their kid, I say something positive about them, and I say, oh, look, your child did this, or we had fun doing this, or there's a funny moment when you did this.
Yeah.
But then, like, there was this one parent one time who, I was telling her positive things, and she's just like, are you sure? Like, she, like, was really digging for me to, like, say something about her child that maybe wasn't right. And so I was like, well, I don't know, sometimes your child throws a tantrum over the kid taking a toy and stuff, you know, but, you know, it's totally fine. That's so normal.
Happens.
Yeah. It's so normal at 3 years old. And then she's like, oh, are you sure? Like, she's like, is my child okay? Like, she's so worried about her child. Like, it's just interesting. So
I think
it's just relationships with parents are really interesting.
And that's so true, because, like, definitely, like, once kids are, like, in kindergarten here in Bellingham, because they're all day here, or in first grade, they're at school more than they are at home. So they trust, like, your, like, guidance and routine even more so than when they were at home more often, just because they don't get to see them as much during the day. So they trust your, like, opinions and validations, I feel like, so much more.
Yeah, like a third parent, you know.
Definitely. No, for sure.
It really
Parent.
is.
She was like all concerned. I was like, no, it's natural.
That's so interesting.
This is what kids go through. It's okay.
But that's interesting that she was kind of, like, digging for you to say, like, one negative thing. It's almost like she was, like, waiting for the butt, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, she was
but
waiting for the butt. That's what it was. And I was just like, no, it's great.
It just happens. It's part of being 3.
I think it's just like human nature to be waiting for the butt, you know, like it's all too good to be true kind of thing, you know.
That's such an interesting perspective. That's how life is.
Yeah, it's just kind of
I'm a positive person. So.
You're so positive. We love it. What else did I say? What was all about interviews, pretty much.
It was pretty much. Yeah, like in the post, I was like, well, I'm part part A or D or whatever. Not that it really matters this week. I think
that was funny. No, you wrote that because I read that.
Yeah, A or D. I always get confused.
I think you said D
You're
this
A.
week, but I'm actually D. You're A.
Right, I always
A
get
for Alicia.
A for Alicia. Like,
But then she's confused because her last name
I know.
Exactly.
That's where.
D a lot. So
That's where I got.
I was like, I know.
Which comes first, A or D? A.
Hey.
What was your biggest takeaway in the interview process? Like, what's something maybe you didn't, like, think about before you read the article, or what was something that changed, or how have you seen it, like, implemented in the schools? I feel like I haven't seen this, at least since I've been here at Western, I haven't seen a lot of teacher-parent, not even, like, interviews, because obviously that's more of a private thing, but just interactions. Like, in some elementary schools I've been at, like, parents are a very active part of the classroom, and, like, there's art docent that's run by the parent, or, you know, there's, I was at one school one time where the gym teacher had, like, a sister who was also, like, a coach for the high school, and she came down and she helped in the gym all the time.
Oh, cool.
Or in the classroom, there was always a parent during reading time that ran a little group. Like, there was always a lot of parent involvement, and just my experiences up here, I haven't seen that same degree of it, and so I haven't seen those parent interactions in a while, so thinking about it was kind of interesting for me, because it's almost something that we aren't exposed to, maybe until, like, the internship part, I don't know.
Yeah, like I noticed that, like at Alderwood, I don't really see many parents. And like I don't know, maybe like if it's like the demographic that parents are working a lot more.
No, I think that's probably completely true.
Yeah, it's like I obviously don't want to jump to any conclusions or assumptions or anything, but I kind of get that. So this is kind of interesting perspective on the parent involvement. So that's why I was like really glad that they had that ELL night to get that parent involvement. You know, like make time for the parents. You know?
I loved that. That night was so awesome.
Yeah, but the parents have to make time for you too.
That's true. Yeah.
But you can't, like, given different people have different circumstances.
Yeah.
So you can't say, like, they have to make the time because maybe they literally truly
Can't.
have
Yeah.
the time.
Exactly.
Or the
Yeah.
times that work for you,
So
or the
it's,
ones
like,
that they're completely
conflicting.
working, and it's just it's always clashing.
Exactly.
And it's why the phone calls and newsletters are so important.
Like,
or notes home.
it was a
positive
blessing.
notes.
Yeah. that so many of those parents like were able to make it.
That's
Like
exactly how I felt.
that's truly a blessing because it's not going to be like that in every school, you know.
Or it's not even going to be like that at every ELL night.
Exactly.
There's always going to be something else. There's one kid sick and I need to stay home,
Yeah.
or my work schedule changed and so this month I can't come. There's always going to be something that's always changing, and so I was under the same impression. I was like, I'm so happy that these parents showed up. And then it gave us like kind of an experience to peer into what the night was like, because it would have been really devastating if there was only like one family. I would have felt terrible. I probably would have left because it would have been so overwhelming to have 6 of us and one family and an
But
interpreter.
it only seemed like there were only 5 families maybe there, and I don't know. I was kind of like, wow, this is really small. Like I thought there would be a bigger come out.
I didn't really have any impressions when I went. I didn't even really know.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah, I had no idea. I think maybe originally at one point I thought there'd be a couple more families.
Yeah.
But I think that's just because all the other schools have been involved and there's been different levels of parent involvement. So like PTA meetings, like they fill up the library.
Yeah.
At like another school I've worked at. But when we went to the book fair afterwards to talk with that lady about the program, there was not many people at the book fair. And granted, it wasn't the tail end of it, but it was kind of empty too.
Got so excited seeing all my new kids there.
That was so cute.
I was like, oh my god.
Me too. I'm glad I saw it too. She's like, she has a hard time saying her M's and her N's.
Oh,
So I was like, I'm Miss Nathy, but you can say Miss N if that's easier for you, or like pick, call me whatever you want. And she like had to watch my mouth, so I'd be like, it's not Miss M, it's Miss N. So now she sees me, she's like, hi, Miss N. She enunciates it so hard. I'm like, hi. She's so cute.
That's adorable.
Yeah, she's precious.
And then I know for our project for the case study, we're already cleared to like have interviews with the students and everything. But I don't know. I would love to talk with the families. I don't know how that would ever be able to be done, but I think that would be such an interesting conversation, and that's why I'm excited we're going to talk.
But
with
that
the
would be
teacher.
really hard knowing what we know about the families.
It would be
Because the 2 kids that I was talking to, their parents don't speak English at all.
no
They only speak Mezteco or
Spanish. Yeah, mine was Mixteco in Spanish, but it would be very interesting if like that opportunity ever arose to like kind of like be included in that. I don't know how. In an ideal world, it would be very interesting. Like it would definitely help with the case study. It's like just what I'm thinking about, because you don't want to like ask too much of a student. Like I don't ever want to feel like I'm prying for information.
Right.
And sometimes you can try to make it as relatable as you can, but I still feel like I'm prying. And I just try to avoid that at all costs, because that's when things get a little weird for me.
Yeah, like I
And
feel
weird for the
like,
student.
like if you make it relaxed and conversational, then like at least from my experiences, kids love to share.
Definitely.
Like they love to share things about themselves too, like and things about their family, and sometimes they share too much about their families, but still the kids I've worked with, they always seem to want to like tell me about their lives and everything. So it's like I totally understand about like not prying too much, but usually kids are very happy to share with you. So
That's how I've been feeling too. I definitely have a similar experience with that.
So I wrote about something that I was maybe confused about, or maybe I just read things wrong, or I don't know. Okay. But with this like whole interview process, the point is to kind of assess your students more and get to know them more so that you can assess them. But I've heard from different classes that you're not supposed to pry and like ask them information that might like
Be taken the
Be
wrong
too
way.
personal.
Or be too personal.
yeah, like if they're
Assumptions.
Yeah.
you're not I don't know, like, especially if like your parents may be like illegal immigrants or something. Like I feel like I don't know. I was reading this and I was reading the question about like how might this be taken the wrong way, and my mind like immediately went to that where like, well, should we like tell the parents that we're doing this so that they, I don't know, like so they wouldn't feel like they're all of a sudden their privacy was
Bombarded.
completely
Yeah.
taken away, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know. If I was in their situation, I don't know.
That's kind of how I felt. That's why I don't want to cry too much.
yeah.
And thankfully, our
same issue. That's why during the ELL night, because I did see my case study student there, so and her parents were there obviously then, and so at the end I went up and talked to her. Gosh, like looking back, I could have said things so much differently, but I was like, "Are you so and so's parents?" She was like, "Yeah, we are," and I was like, "Okay, well, it's so great to meet you. I'm just like, I'm working to become a teacher, and I'm going to be working with your child, and looking at like her English skills, I was like, not that she needs any help, but and then I was just like, oh gosh, what what do I? And she was so she was just like, okay, yeah, just like taking it in, and I was like, yes, I'm just gonna be working with your child and like yada yada yada, and she was like, okay, great, and I was like, it's so great like meeting with you, talking with you, and so yeah, make sure you don't do that,
but like I think that they could tell that your intention was
Yeah.
And like that lady who came up, like I think she was like an aunt or a grandmother or something like that, who came up to us afterwards and was like, oh
yeah.
that like
oh
that
yeah.
moment kind of like made my night. That she was so happy to see us, and like we were like, we're not working with you.
Yeah.
We're so happy to be here. And,
She was cute.
She was a sweetheart.
She was so enthusiastic. She's like, oh, thank you so much for coming. It was very
It's like-
heartening.
I was like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, I know. Ideally, I would have an opportunity to speak with the parents so that they don't feel like, why are you investigating my life?
That's
Why
kind
are
of-
you,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
who made you, like, you
Or
know what I
doing
mean?
this.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel like it.
Because then it is kind of like you said, like, more interrogation instead of, like,
Conversation.
let's just, like, how are you? You know?
That reminds me of something I wrote about in my post about like knowing the language and like some of the cultural norms.
That's really crucial.
Yeah, it's like I know I feel like I always bring up my Japanese class in these meetings. It's like I'm really
It's relevant.
It's very relevant.
I love it, but like
So in Japanese.
yes, I really I'm sorry. So like I've learned that like addressing someone as like you and like you do this or you would do this like like in the language and the culture they try to kind of avoid that because it's very interrogative and very direct. And so like if I knew that about the parent or the student's language, then I would try to like change how I talk. Like you can say would do this or something like that, or I would do this. It feels like
That kind of opened my eyes. Like, if that makes me think about like ELL 432, like the big language presentation at the end of the quarter,
yeah.
where that was like a big aspect of it was like breaking down the language and how it's different from English.
Yeah.
And then also like how do norms, like how do you approach parents and everything.
I really wish I could have had Japanese in my presentation.
Oh yeah.
Because I did Punjabi for mine and it was really interesting. So it's Punjabi parents. When you are talking with them, they won't want to be close to you. They're going to want to be a little bit further away. And it's just that's what's normal for them. Because if you're closer, it means
Oh my
you're-
goodness, that is so weird.
Kinda like
That is so funny because
Oh, okay.
I went to India and people were literally standing this close to me in my personal bubble and I wanted to move away.
Interesting.
Okay, anyway, sorry.
But not everybody in India is Punjabi.
I know, but a lot of people where we were. So I
But
don't know.
no, so it was like
It's just so funny.
I was reading on a website about it, and I think it was a girl. She was writing about how, like, during parent-teacher conferences when she would have them, parents would be like a little further away. And at first, she was like, "Oh, what's wrong? Like, do I smell, or is something wrong?" And it's mainly if you're family, you're closer. It's like almost like a bloodline thing. And so I thought that kind of makes me think about that. And so different like cultural norms are so
Right.
important to understand, like know about your students if you've been talking about and you kind of know their background. That was just like one aspect, but I was like, yeah, that was very interesting to learn about another language I would have never learned about before I took that class.
Right. Yeah. And I know, like, in a lot of, my roommate's speaking Chinese, and she's been kind of, like, telling me about the language norms of that. Are we doing it? About, like, how in a lot of languages, like, your tone of voice and, like, if you go up at the end of the sentence, if you go down at the end of the sentence, that can, like, kind of mean a lot in your language. So, like, I almost feel like while they're learning English, like, that tone of your voice can make a difference in how they interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I have to kind of be careful about that. Maybe even do a little bit of research on like what different tones of voice can mean in different languages. So I know like English isn't as much. We're kind of more just like situational and understanding the context of what's being said, but then other languages have a lot more of a tone base.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
It is.
like I think I know, like I forgot which language it is, but I know there's one language where if you say mi song mai, if you say it differently, it can mean something good, but then it can also mean
I know in Chinese it's very common.
yeah. Like I think if you say it a different way, it means your mother as a cow.
Oh wow.
So yeah, be careful.
Yeah, there's a lot of languages like that that depend upon. Yeah.
I just think that's why it's so informational. I think it's so important to like be knowledgeable and definitely reach out. So if you know your students' cultural backgrounds or you're like looking for different ways to teach, like there's so many resources here on this campus. Like there's professors you can talk to.
Oh yeah.
There's different like support you can offer them. And just because like I don't know, I just feel like it's so important to be knowledgeable. And just like really know your students really well. Like I feel like that's such like common sense, but it's really true because you could easily like get into a rut and be like, every student's the same. Like they definitely don't teach this here, but like there's a lot of teachers I feel like that are older that are every year they teach the same things and it's the same worksheets. Like you can go and you can pull out of a drawer and it's in February we're doing this math worksheet and it's things are constantly changing. That's not an option anymore.
Right.
And nor should ever be an option because obviously every group of students are going to have really different. But I just think like what we've learned through Woodring is just very important, and I feel like I'm always going to be more and more knowledgeable.
I think being knowledgeable like shows a lot of respect to the student and the parent. And, like I think that even if they know that you're making that effort, they'll take that and they'll feel really respected and enjoy that. Like one of the questions, like we had like write all these questions that we had in the interview.
Yeah.
I wrote like, do you like it when people at school speak the same language you speak at home? Like, does that make you feel comfortable or something like that?
Oh, I didn't even think of that question.
It's like, do you
That's a nice one.
would you like me to maybe learn how to greet you in your native language or something like that? Or like, do you have a name in your native language that you like to be called or something like that?
Definitely.
It's gonna be interesting.
It's so important. That can be so difficult to get to know every student that well in a class that has 25, 30 kids. Like, it's so overwhelming, but like you definitely need to do that so that you know your students super well.
Yeah, actually, there's a student at the daycare, and her family, they speak Arabic? No.
Arabic?
Arabic.
Oh,
Sorry. Oh my goodness, what am I saying? Okay, they speak
It's almost the end of the week. You're allowed.
and her name is spelled Parnia,
Oh, okay.
but she doesn't pronounce the R. And so I just like, it was really important for me to like figure out how to say her name correctly so that I could actually like call her by her name.
Yeah.
And so I learned that like after asking her how she says her name, after asking her how she says her name, like she goes, Tanya. And I'm like, okay, so then I couldn't like look at her name because I would be like Parnia.
Yeah.
You know, and so like I was just like really trying hard because I just think it's so important for me to call her by her real name
No, it
and like
definitely
get it
is.
right. Like
Yeah.
some we're teachers, but yeah.
No, that's definitely true. Like, you would never want someone to say your name incorrectly.
Mhm.
Like, and I'm sure you've had that problem too.
Yeah.
Definitely have.
Yeah. Like, every name, I feel like at one point, like, there's always been a teacher or someone who's, like, really butchered it. And he's like, it's Caitlin. Like,
Caitlin.
I don't know.
It's like spelled Caitlin.
I've been there, just trust me.
Wow.
Or, like, my last name's more prevalent, Weems.
Oh yeah.
That's very easy to mispronounce, and I hear that all the time.
I think I've been like Alicia, Daucus, Dukakis, Dunkfish, Doofus. I think Dunkfish and Doofus are the best ones. So like, where did the F come from?
That's very interesting.
I like remember there's
Doofus?
present. I'm always here. Like, I remember like there's one kid in a class I worked with years ago. And I think it's in a different state. And everything, so I think I can say the names, okay? But his name was Abdul Kadir. And
That's a cool name.
yeah, Abdul Kadir.
That's so cool.
Yeah, he was.
What was his first name? What was his last name? Is that one name?
I don't think I can't remember his last name. I just remember he was Abdul Kadir, and I kind of have fun saying it too. But then like, the teacher confirmed that it was okay to call him a shorter nickname. So we all called him Abdi.
Oh.
So like that she confirmed it with him and everything, and he was like, "Oh, that's totally cool. You can call me Abdi. It's cool." So yeah.
Getting their their consent that
Yeah.
it still validates like who they are.
Yeah, like even like I feel like for someone learning English and new to our culture, like we do have a lot of nicknames. So like a nickname is kind of cool. You're like we're accepting you in our culture and everything. We're gonna give you a cool nickname. You know, like oh cool, you're welcoming me by giving me a nickname. It's cool. It's like when you're with your friends, don't you feel cooler when someone gives you a nickname? Like you feel closer with the person who gives you the nickname. So it's kind of like oh yeah, in school I'm Abdi. It's kind of cool. You know, like, I'm part of this group. You know.
I love that.
He was a cool kid. I liked him.
He sounds like a cool
He was a very cool kid. Very bright. Anyway.
Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up or talk about? I think I have got everything I want to say out.
Very cold outside.